Welcome into the Insiders. I am James Ham. Joining me, Mr. Kyle Matson. Kyle, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great.
It's Donut Friday.
It's a Donut Friday, baby. I'm so happy to bring Donut Friday. Not only hang on, two things.
Yep.
So I will explain the history of Donut Friday here in a second, but I was thrilled to bring Donut Friday from my previous station in San Francisco to this one.
Yes.
I was very happy to do that. I leveled up in happiness when I realized that you also, whether you were privy to it or not, also recognized Donut Friday, and you also brought donuts.
It was a whimsical move.
Come
I
on.
was on my way down Highway 49. There's this incredible, authentic donut shop, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna stop in and grab a dozen donuts or two. And there was a big line. I'm like, I'll wait it out. But yeah, there's nothing like. It's been a long week for us. We've had to make scheduling adjustments with our lives to get here. Kyle, of course, gets here at 5:30 in the morning, which means he leaves his house at like 4:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 4 o'clock is right when I shoot to leave.
Yeah, I can't imagine being in that world, Kyle. I can't. I'm already struggling with just getting up and being here.
Well, you're on the NBA schedule. Your body's on the NBA clock, which is a little bit different.
Well, yes, my body it stays on the NBA clock. And then there's this thing that, Kyle, I'm not as young as you are. So
Great point.
like adjusting schedules, it just takes longer.
Yeah. Now that definitely makes sense. Are you toward the age yet where you just naturally are starting to go to bed earlier and earlier?
No. I'm a night owl. No,
Okay. This is very different.
Yeah. So I live on the NBA clock, and like for years, I wouldn't get home until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I leave the house at 9 in the morning, and I wouldn't get home until 2.
Yeah.
So between shoot around and everything else that goes into it, it'll be a little different now because we'll be here and then we'll jump straight from here to Kings coverage and then, game coverage and all that stuff. And then be back here in the morning, the morning after games. But yeah, we definitely, I don't know. Somehow we're in sync because I had no idea that you did Donut Friday.
This is great.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, this is our first time being here in the studio all week, and there's a vibrant life here that goes on that I wasn't privy to before. I'm in the studio quite a bit, but always in the afternoon, and it's not nearly as lively in the afternoon as it is in the morning. So, like my first day, Pat Martin, like legendary, he went to grab a coffee cup that he thought was empty. And I walked in and he's on his hands and knees mopping up coffee off the floor. He stands up. He's got coffee all over his white shirt, all over his pants. That was my introduction. But I thought that like this is a good week to thank the people who have been so welcoming here to us. And Kyle and I somehow we already have chemistry.
Dude. I love that. I love that for both of us. You're right though. Just regarding the station real quick. I came from a station that I never saw anybody.
Oh.
I saw the guys at my station, and I love those guys. I still do. But I never saw anybody at the 95.7 studio. We were back in the corner, and that's where we were. I didn't see here. You're out and about. Everybody's super friendly about it. It's very open up. And the morning show that I'm on at 98 Rock is all the way down on the other end. So I see everybody on that end as well in the morning. So it's just great. I'm glad to share Donut Friday with everybody here. It started because I would get off of BART in San Francisco, and my path to the station took me past a really good donut shop called Happy Donut on Battery and I forget the cross street, but whatever the cross street is. Really good spot. They made these buttermilk donuts. They were delicious. Really cool guy. A really cool family owned it. And so I would go in there and I would be in there 3, 4, 5 times a week. Legit. Grab a donut and walk down to eat my donut while I walk. It's about half mile. It's great. Well, when the day I walked in and the guy went, buttermilk maple.
Oh, that means
I was like, oh no. I'm a regular at a donut shop. I need to clean my life up. So I went, I need to make it special. So Fridays, Donut Fridays, it's typically payday Fridays are Donut Fridays.
Yeah.
But this is a special one. Like you said, end of the first week, this could have been a heck of a week if not for Jesse, Damian, Kenny, you, everybody here being so welcoming.
The engineers have been spectacular.
Jonathan and Seth have been great. So everybody has been so welcoming and so helpful. And the myriad of people who I've met and interacted with, and we did not exchange names. So I just wanted to show appreciation, and I'm glad that you're on that same page.
It's funny, Kyle, you mentioned the name thing, right? So we both worked for NBC. In the break room at NBC, they had Polaroids of everyone with their name under it all over this huge wall.
I never got a Polaroid, by the way.
I was never there enough, which I don't know. I didn't get a Polaroid either, but there's nothing worse than walking around a studio and everyone knows who you are because you're the Kings guy, and you have no idea who anyone else is. So everyone's like, "Hey,
you're famous in there."
Like, "Hey, what's going on, James?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" Like, I don't know, Kyle. You were probably one of those guys.
Okay, so I might have like nodded and said hi, but I'm also I'm going to keep my head down and not bother the important people. Like that's why I don't talk to Jesse while he's here.
That's what I hate about the media industry. I don't buy into, I've never understood the talent. I hate that phrase.
Sure.
I don't understand it. I want it to be like launched into space. And I hate when you walk in somewhere and people actually are treated like the talent or think that they're the talent.
Sure.
Because like, man, if we got to go set up a set.
Right. You're in there.
I showed up to Golden One and they're like, I'm like, "Are we behind?" They're like, "Yeah, we're behind. It's opening night tonight." And I'm like, "All right, well, what do you need?" They're, "I don't know." Like
jaws hit the floor probably.
And I'm like, "Hey, I'll mount the giant TVs." They're like, "What? Okay." Like, what do you mean you'll mount the TV? Right? Like, I will put the TV mounting brackets on and I'll mount it to the giant metal cage.
Sure.
Like, and that's what I did. And they're awestruck. Like, what is happening? Like, I never understood people who like walk into a shoot and it's you and a camera guy. They set everything up and then you walk away afterwards and act like you're too busy to help. Like, no, let's roll cables.
I love that.
Yeah, let's do this.
I love that. I love that from you. So I wasn't ever going to tell this story, but now I'm going to, since we're talking about this very specific thing. And we're going to talk Lions Chiefs. We're going to get into Broncos Raiders. We're going to get into Niners Steelers. We're getting into all that today. But Team USA lost to Germany. We'll talk about that as well. But I had decided, because I'm with you. Like, I don't love that idea of that dynamic, but also for me, I don't want to be in the way. Like, my goal is I would rather be not known than be the guy that interrupted person X while they were working.
Okay.
And anyways. So I had decided, I was like, I had, been like, "Oh, hey, James, excuse me," whatever. But I had decided, okay, today is the day, because you were there, you were at the studio, and I had decided, okay, this is the day I'm going to just, "Hey, James, Kyle, I used to work I'm working up in Sac right now, blah, blah, blah." Well, as you were walking across, somebody asked you an NBA draft question about Lonzo Ball. And you said, and I don't think this is a bad take because Lonzo's had his injuries and stuff. I didn't think it was, but you go, "Oh, I think he's awesome. I think he's a franchise altering player for whoever gets him."
Yeah.
Like and
I was high on him.
And I was so taken aback by how strong the take was that I did not move to approach you while you walked right past. You were you were 10 feet from me, and I was turning to and that happened. And I went, "Wow. Okay, I'm going to sit here for a minute. I'm going to take that in," because I felt like, I don't know what it was, but the energy you gave off in that moment was like, "Oh, okay, that's a lot. This is," so, and then I just never got another opportunity. We were never there at the same time. So
that's wild. I hot taked you. And like you watch, oh no.
Like, man, no. He's on a different level. I was walking up because you were meandering to the break room. Like, you were chilling. And I was going to walk up and just, "Hey, James, shake hands. Here's me. Here's what I do. Hope to work with you on some King stuff this year." Tight. Okay. That's it. And knowing you now, you would have talked me up and we would have chatted. Yeah. So, but when you were like, "Oh, Lonzo's the man," like, he is, okay. I can't now drop this down to, "Oh, hi." Like, now I have to respond to your take. I didn't have a Lonzo take. It was a weird jump shot. That's where I was at. So now I felt like I would have had to address the NBA draft with you, and I was not ready to do that. So I'm glad that we get to do this show now. And I was going to keep that story in my back pocket forever because it's a little embarrassing for your boy, but it's fine. It's fine now.
I love the story. That's amazing.
Good. I'm glad.
I'll tell you, we've got I'll be quick with this. I was at
That's fine.
a brewery at the beginning of last season. It was one of our friends' birthday, and my wife hits me. She's like, "Hey, like the people over here like staring at you." I'm like what? Like, and this, so I go and I sit down. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" They're like, "Good." And I'm like, "Are you guys Kings fans?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so we started a conversation, and it was like after game 3 or game 4 when the Kings had started at 0-4, and they were freaking out, and it was a young couple, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I think they'll be okay." Like this season specifically, I think they'll be okay. Like I've covered this team forever. There's a different energy, a different vibe. Like I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't hit some like sell on my ticket vibe at this point. And yeah, I mean, those are things like you do have to worry about, like sometimes at Costco, like the Costco workers want to know who's getting traded, when they're getting traded. And I feel like
I'm not going to lie to you. That's never happened to me, but I understand how you could be like,
yeah.
Hey, Kevin Herter, man. Like, what? I'm not ready for this.
Well, I think
I'm thinking about these frozen burritos and how I'm going to get them home before they thaw.
Maybe now I know if I talk really intensely to one person about what I think, maybe other people would be like, "Oh no, I'm not going over there."
Yeah, if you're just like, if they're you're like, these are the best chicken melts on the planet. Go to Emeril Lagasse's restaurant or whatever his name is. You're not going to find a chicken melt better than this. They're gonna be like, "Whoa, all right, James Ham's in his own right now."
That guy's intense. All right, you are listening to the Insiders on ESPN 1320,
ESPN 13,
98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. We'll be right back. We'll actually start the show and start talking about sports.
There's a ton of football to get into. Let's go, baby.
Kyle.
All right, I'm back.
Hit program 3.
My bad, man.
Kyle's still learning.
It's just these little quirks.
I don't know who's hearing that. I don't know if it's just me or if it's me and them. Anyway.
No, it's just, so I'm gonna go super deep inside radio. There's program 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Program 1 is what goes out over the air.
Okay.
Program 2 is the stream. So anything that's in program 2 will go out onto the stream.
Okay.
And then program 3 is your ears.
Just me and you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I put this in program 3, you can now hear the commercials, and now you can't.
Okay.
So that's how it goes.
All right. Cool. How much time do we have left?
2 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm going to try something here. Sorry to I'm going to explain this. The chatty house isn't going to get to hear it, so it's fine. So we have a short rejoin here. It's like 7 seconds.
Okay.
So I'm going to let the rejoin play, and then I'm going to try music after that and see how well that works.
Okay.
Because I'm going to manually do this right now. And then hopefully we'll get, I have these songs, and this is what we're going to use.
Cool.
And I'll get the dry open so we can just throw that over the song so it's more seamless.
If it doesn't work, just point at me. Just go.
Oh, it's going to work. Like, it's going to play.
Okay.
It's going to work. But
all right.
TBD on if it sounds good.
Okay. What's going on, everybody? The butcher shop. See, Johnny G. Now that's better. That you know, I get it.
I'm still tripping off the insiders. That was a great joke by Johnny. I didn't see this, but this is my nightmare at a baseball game. When I get an opportunity to sit like close enough that I could affect a foul ball.
Oh,
It's only happened once or twice. I am terrified of the idea that I will impact the game in some way.
Oh no. If I have an opportunity and it's the opposing team.
Oh, you're going all in.
Oh, I'm barehanded it, just like
10 seconds.
All right.
There we go.
All right, we are back. I am James Ham. He is Kyle Madsen. We are the insiders here on ESPN 1320. Kyle, we had opening night of the NFL last night. I don't know what to make of it. Like, first of all, all of my bets were bad. Like, we went through bets yesterday. I missed the over under by a ton.
I did too.
Mahomes, 2.5 touchdowns. I said over. He probably should have had an over.
Boy.
Oh boy, should he have. And I thought that it was a more of a low scoring affair than I thought it would be. And it looked like a really, really rusty version of what we'll see later in the season. But what were your initial takeaways from the 21-20 Detroit Lions victory over the Kansas City Chiefs?
I have two really, really like strong feelings about this game, which is crazy because it's the Lions and Chiefs. Okay. But I have one for each team. One, I was under the impression, I was of the mind, and I think a lot of people were, that Patrick Mahomes could make it work with anyone.
Yes.
You and me could go out there and Patrick Mahomes is completing 20 of 35 for 300 yards. And
I played wide receiver. I have spectacular hands.
I could totally envision that, right?
Yes.
So that's clearly not the case. And I thought Kansas City, Travis Kelce being out, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but Andy Reid's a smart coach. They're deep enough at running back that they can kind of piece it together there. And then Sky Moore's in year 2. Kadarius Toney, really talented player. You love Kadarius Toney. Justin Ross, awesome player in college. He's dealt with some really significant injury stuff, but he's back now. And you're going, the Chiefs are going to be fine. It may not be 45 points, but they're going to piece together enough to win. And if you had told me the Lions scored, was it 24?
21?
21, 20. Yeah, 21-20. That's right. If you told me the Lions scored 21, I would have said, oh, so Kansas City won they covered.
Yeah.
Right? They won 27-21 or 30-21 or something like that. But man, I was floored by how bad Kansas City's receivers were, specifically Kadarius Toney.
I mean, he was so horrific. I feel bad for him. Like he was a midseason pickup, and they made their bold move was Kadarius Toney, and I think a lot of people were like, okay, that's not a great move. I mean, he's got a lot of talent, but he's never put it together. And what would make you think that you're going to be able to put it together? Like, look, this was opening week. You have to be focused. You have to be ready. First of all, he gives up the pick 6 and costs them, a easy touchdown for the Detroit Lions. And then the late drop was just so egregious. But Kyle, it wasn't just him. Like, first of all, the drops were horrible. But the routes, we had the crossing route where two guys basically almost run into each other and the ball hits both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just,
they looked like they had no clue. It was like they removed Travis Kelce from the offense and nobody knew what to do except for Blake Bell. Blake Bell scored a touchdown, Niners legend. Shout out to him. Kansas City looked way more unprepared.
Yes.
Than I anticipated Kansas City looking. Particularly offensively.
I totally agree. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had that incredible catch late in the game. Incredible. Like, I thought.
Oh, yeah. That was a dime too.
Well, yeah, but how many dimes did Mahomes throw that? And every time they just pan up Mahomes and he's got his hands on his head. Like, I can't believe this is happening.
So many times.
Yeah. It's like us watching his brother on a TikTok video. Like, I can't believe this is
Very
happening.
Good. Very good.
But I also would want to point out that Patrick Mahomes, 6 carries for 45 yards.
Their leading rusher.
Yeah, so I have him in fantasy, of course, and I'm sitting here watching the whole time. And, we get 1 point every 10 yards, which for me is like spectacular. And we're going to get into, this is Fantasy Friday. We're going to get into more fantasy talk here in just a few minutes with Faraz Siddiqui. But the thing that stood out to me was Pacheco. Like, what was going on there? Like, he's running like he's tap dancing. He was so bad.
He's a late round pick for a reason, man.
I guess. But how do you run? How is this who you're putting around Patrick Mahomes?
Well, Isaiah Pacheco was like a fine player for them last year.
He was, but
Clyde Edwards-Helaire has not been the player they've anticipated him being. And that's kind of the I don't want to say the issue, but it was like, man, they let Tyreek Hill walk. That's kind of scary. But they pieced it together last year with Sky Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster, and like you said, in the middle of the year, they pick up Kadarius Toney, and he had a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And so you're going, okay, they've got a pretty good stable of weapons here. They just need a couple of guys to be adequate, and they're fine.
Yeah,
and they were sub-adequate last night. And it's like you said, it's week 1. So I'm not saying the Kansas City Chiefs are going 8-9. They're going to win double-digit games and be fine.
Of course.
But I just in zooming into a 1-game sample size, could not believe how inept the Chiefs looked offensively, sans Travis Kelce.
I shouldn't have this feeling like in the third quarter that the Chiefs need to have Josh Gordon on the phone. That's not where I should be.
Stop.
That's not where I should be in week 1 of the NFL season. No. And look, you throw Kelce in there, they look different. They look different because he doesn't have to throw to these other guys who can't catch. Yeah. That's why, but can he get you 10 balls a game? He's going to need to. He might need 11 catches per game. So I'm doing the math. I'm like, okay, 170. If he's just playing out the 16 game schedule that's left, and I got to get 11 catches out of him, that's like 176 catches. Like, okay,
I rack them up.
It is what it is. Like, we can't throw to anyone else. I don't care how many people are on you. Mahomes can, thread a needle like nobody's business.
Right.
We're just going to make you do like your weird spin move to the inside the whole time. And that's the other thing I missed. I missed a spin move. Like, where's my spin move? And then like the running game. And the worst part about all of this is I didn't think the Lions were very good.
Okay. That's my other thing.
They let him off the hook.
They did. The Lions offense scored 14 points. And again, I'm still in on the Lions being good this year. It's week 1. It's basically preseason for a lot of teams still.
Yes.
They use the first few weeks to really ramp up. Check Kyle Shanahan's record by month. It's the perfect encapsulation of a team feeling their way through the first few weeks and then turning it on,
of course,
over the last couple months of the season. But anyways, I think the Lions are going to be fine. No sweeping judgments here. But they scored 14 points on offense. And one of them thanks to a fake field goal. Everybody last night, I saw on the internet was people going, oh, Chris Jones, they got to pay. The defense was fine.
It was.
They were not the problem.
No.
At all. Are they going to pay Chris Jones to play receiver?
There was
get him on the jugs machine?
One guy who was the problem.
Yeah.
That's what you hate when you watch a game. You're like, oh, if it was anyone else that they would have thrown the ball to a bunch of times, that doesn't happen.
And like you said, with Kadarius Toney, there was the pick 6, and that wasn't even one. Here's the deal. When a receiver, it's a high throw and he gets a hand on it and it tips off and somebody grabs it and people go, well, if you get a hand on it, you got to catch it. Like, that's a bad throw. But the one, it was like chest high. He got 2 hands on it. It was like you couldn't have set it in his hands better, and he slipped through.
Well, that and the same thing with the deep ball. The deep ball late was
what was he doing? What was this? He had his, it was like,
catch.
Why didn't he grab it with his hands? He had his hands out, and then as the ball came in, he tried to like trap it against his chest. I don't understand it. That was 6 with his athleticism. If he catches that, he's gone.
Kyle's yelling, triangle, man, triangle.
Seriously, what
catch the ball.
The thumb. I was floored by how bad. Kadarius Toney, there were people, and we can talk to Faraz Siddiqui about this coming up at 10:30. Like there's there were people talking about Kadarius Toney in the Chiefs locker room this year as wide receiver 1. Like, watch out. He is the next Tyreek Hill, this super explosive athlete. Patrick Mahomes is going to lean on him. And then he goes out and has literally, I'm not exaggerating, for me, the worst game I've ever seen a wide receiver play, ever.
It was bad. It was not good.
And I've watched a lot of bad Niners wide receivers.
Yeah. I mean, they did have at one point Ronaldo Nehemiah, who couldn't catch it all. He just ran fast.
That's not a real player.
It is.
That's a fake
he was
an
Olympic hurdler.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Man.
Number 83 before JJ Stokes.
Oh man, that's great knowledge. By
yeah.
It's really good knowledge.
And let's finish up with the Lions here. First of all, I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was incredible.
Really good.
What was Dan Campbell doing? I do not want to see David Montgomery 21 carries to Jahmyr Gibbs 7 carries. I know it's week 1.
9 touches. Oh. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, if the Lions are going to maximize their offense, Jahmyr Gibbs needs to be between like 15 and 20 touches minimum.
But this is what I told you last season. Mm-hmm. Same exact thing.
Man.
Give Swift the ball. Give him the ball.
Yeah.
The whole season.
If maybe it's a week 1 thing, maybe it's a rookie on the road, first game, they were trying to ease him in. But bro, he is so very clearly their best running back. And that's no disrespect to David Montgomery. David Montgomery's a fine player, but Jahmyr Gibbs just a little different.
Yeah, when he went for it on 4th and 2 and decided to throw and didn't run the ball. First of all, 4th and 2, what are you doing? Secondly, run the ball. It's the only thing that's working for you.
Mm-hmm.
And give it to Gibbs. No. And
also, the Chiefs going for it on 4th and 20 with all 3 timeouts and more than 2 minutes left. Andy Reid is on fraud watch, bro.
He's like,
Andy Reid is on fraud watch for me. I'm joking.
All right. You are listening to the Insiders on ESPN 1320, 98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and we will hit Fantasy Friday with Fareed Siddiqui. Boy, I butchered his name there. Fareed Siddiqui. My bad. Hopefully Faraz isn't in. He's not here yet. Hopefully you didn't hear that. Yeah, the fake punt. The fake punt got them going, and they looked really good. And then all of a sudden, they weren't good. Hello, Chatty House. How's everyone doing this morning? There's a good group of you in here. If you don't mind, hit the thumbs up for us. Let's get this party started. You can tell Kyle and I are all amped up on the donuts we brought for other people. We're all like freaking out, man. Hey, there's Faraz. What's going on, Faraz?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. We're on break. I just butchered your name going to the break. I got to be honest with you. I'm not gonna...
It's all good, man. It's all good. Fareed Siddiqui.
Oh no, I've said it a million times over the last 2 days, and right. I haven't messed it up at all. But we were joking that Kyle and I both brought donuts today, and now we're like,
we're on one now. Having a great time.
We are. We're having a good time.
I get it. You know, for some reason, you said you guys are on break, right?
Yeah, we're on break.
Yeah, for some reason. So I usually do this intermittent fasting thing, like where I don't eat until like noon or 1,
sure.
right?
I see the Facebook apps for it.
What hours don't you eat? When do you stop?
So I stop at like 8, 9 p.m. and then I don't eat until like 12 or 1.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
But like today, for whatever reason, I had this like box of trefoils left, like from like Girl Scout, and like I had like almost the whole box with like a couple cups of coffee, and I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Afterwards, I just felt like, but you know what? It was so good. It was so good.
I think we're.
I don't blame you one bit.
We're gonna wonder if that's exactly what happened to Tony yesterday.
Kadarius
Tony.
You shouldn't have had that popcorn.
My God.
Man, he really shouldn't have had that extra cup of coffee, extra Red Bull. Yeah.
Whatever he was on.
Yeah, whatever it was, it was not the good stuff.
Not at all.
30 seconds.
That was brutal. Okay. Brutal.
30 seconds.
I'm so excited to play this rejoin. It's a short rejoin, so I'm going to play music again.
Okay, cool. Kyle is testing out new music today. I dig it, Kyle. I'm all over this. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. I'm down. We are back. Insiders here on ESPN 1320, James Ham, Kyle Madsen. And we are joined by Faraz Siddiqui from Upper Hand Fantasy. Fantasy Friday. What's going on, Faraz? We're excited to hear your take on the Chiefs-Lions opening night of the NFL last night.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. Not the most exciting football, I have to say. But hey, listen, it's week 1. I will take it. Real football.
For us, real quick, from a fantasy perspective, here's why I'm a bad fantasy football player. I am. What do you want from me? I overreact to everything all the time. The logical side of me, the person who has watched the NFL for years and who writes about and podcasts and talks about the NFL on the radio, gets that the first few weeks are always kind of a feel out. You don't learn a ton typically, and you can't make any sweeping conclusions. But I am the type of fantasy football player that I watched last night, and if I am invested in the Chiefs receiving core, I am dropping everybody. I'm out.
I hear you, man.
Do that. Is there something I would regret there, or are you also now fading the Chiefs receivers the rest of the year?
I have to admit that I wasn't necessarily completely on Sky Moore yesterday. I still had him. I ranked outside my top 36 wide receivers, so I wasn't going crazy, right? He was like right around wide receiver 40 or so. So like, I'm not super surprised that he completely disappeared last night. But there was some hype around him. Patrick Mahomes talking him up. Talk about him getting the most routes among all the wide receivers, and that turned out to be somewhat true. But there was a really, really crazy rotation going on with these wide receivers. Like, they were just bringing them on and off the field. Like, if you look at in terms of route participation, this is like, how often these wide receivers are on the field when the quarterback drops back to throw, right? Sky Moore was at 64%. Like, that's not startable from a fantasy perspective. Like, you want like 80% or above at the very least. And as a wide receiver, like the top wide receivers are on the field 90% or more, right? So this wasn't good. Now, Rashee Rice, and well, Kadarius Toney, man, what a game! He lost the Chiefs the game, right?
I've never seen a worse game by a wide receiver.
It was a league losing game. I mean, it was a week losing game. It was absolutely terrible. For those who didn't watch it, spoiler alert if you're going to watch it, but Kadarius Toney right through his hands into the defender's hands, pick six, and then at the end of the game, dropping what could have been a ball that would have won the Chiefs the game, right? So absolutely terrible. Anyway, the thing that is if you're going to take away anything from this game for these wide receivers, I would say that you look at the amount of times they were targeted on a per route run basis. So Rashee Rice and Kadarius Toney, I think Rashee Rice should be picked up off of waivers next week, going into next week, because of the fact that he was targeted. He did get that touchdown, okay, but he was targeted on 42% of his routes run, and then Kadarius Toney was targeted on 45% of his routes run. We already knew that Kadarius Toney was going to get a limited workload, and he did. But if you're going to be targeted that much on a limited number of routes, if those routes increase, there could be some fantasy production here. So I don't want to overreact to these guys. Okay. But Sky Moore, that was the most disappointing. I'm okay dropping him, but I would say the other two, I might roster those guys.
Man.
Yeah, we have Rashee Rice, and we're like, hey, he looks all right. He got the early touchdown. Yeah. He looked functional. Like, I was wondering why he didn't get more touches.
Sure.
Right. But you're right. Mahomes hit 11 different receivers, and most of them are like 1 and 2 catches. And I don't even want to look. I'm not looking at their drops, but again, the targets are about spread out evenly throughout everybody. Right. Just how much do they miss Travis Kelce, and do you think that just fixes everything?
It fixes a lot, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, we saw it last year. It was a very similar situation. Travis Kelce, and then that's it. Right. But it opens up everything else, right? It opens up Jerick McKinnon. It opens up MVS deep. It opens up a lot more. Kadarius Toney, when he starts running more routes, like, things are going to be way better with Travis Kelce on the field. You think about it this way too. Travis Kelce got hurt in their last practice for the week, right? So they didn't get to practice together without Kelsey. So that was a big issue here. They almost came away with the victory. Didn't happen, but I'm not surprised that they came out super flat on offense just overall. But Kadarius Toney, man, like hit those drops did not help at all. It really didn't. But I do think with Kelsey back next week, I think they'll be fine.
It's a Fantasy Friday here on the Insiders, talking with Faraz Siddiqui of Upper Hand Fantasy. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Faraz, I want to shift gears here and look ahead to Sunday. George Kittle dealing with an injury. Also, it looks like Mark Andrews might not play. If somebody is looking to maybe stream a tight end this week, who do you like that might be available on waivers?
There are a few wide receivers available. I mean, I'm sorry, a few tight ends. Now, you might not want to get overly cute with it, right? Let's say Kelsey didn't play, last night, and you're still looking for a tight end, right? I might want to see how these other tight ends do before I pick up a tight end, right? So on Sunday night, you still have Jake Ferguson, right, who's available on a ton of waiver wires, right? So depending how Sunday goes, you're like, you know what? I kind of don't need to drop that bench player that I really like for a tight end. I might just roll with keeping my tight end slot empty this week. That's because here's the thing, right? When you start looking at these later tight ends, like they might give you like just 3 or 4 points, right? Because you're really looking at these streamers, right? Now, if I'm going against an opponent who has a high-end tight end, then I probably want to be a little bit more selective with who I pick up, right? I think the Green Bay tight end, Luke Musgrave, I think he's somebody that you want to look at really because he's going to be running a route on almost near, 80, 90% of dropbacks. Christian Watson's banged up right now. Romeo Doubs still dealing with the hamstring injury, but he's back in practice. He should be on the field. But Musgrave could see some targets this week. He's somebody that I'm looking at. Juwan Johnson has been on a lot of waiver wires as well. Him and Derek Carr apparently have a really good connection. He told his brother to pick him up in fantasy. That's something to keep in mind as well. So Juwan Johnson, Luke Musgrave, those are the two main guys. But if you want to wait, Jake Ferguson on Sunday night, you can pick up late and start him if you need to, because I think he's going to get a ton of run after with Dalton Schultz leaving there. And then on Monday night, if you really, really want to wait, Tyler Conklin could be available as well. He's a little bit of a sneaky add and start that you can make against the Bills on Monday night.
For us, last week you told us Sam Laporta, like pencil in, like if you're deep in your draft, he's a guy. And I mean, sure enough, 5 catches on 5 targets. Who do you got for us this weekend that you're like, hey, this guy may have got missed in your fantasy draft and probably should take a flyer before he blows up in week 1?
Oh, there are a few ones. I think Nico Collins is somebody that I've seen kind of still on waivers a little bit here and there in certain leagues. I think most 12-team leagues he might be rostered, but he's profiling to be the Texans' number 1 wide receiver. CJ Stroud is obviously an upgrade over whatever they had last year. He's had 9 drives this preseason with the starters, with CJ Stroud, with the other starting wide receivers, and he's had a 30% target share in those, with CJ Stroud. So he's somebody that you could pick up, potentially start this week if you're super desperate. Let's say you lost Cooper Kupp, right, for this week, and you really went running back heavy. You're in a deeper league. He's somebody that you can potentially put in your lineup just for raw targets, right? He's targeted downfield as well. He's that type of player, that type of X receiver. So I do like him. Another name is Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is somebody that I would definitely try to stash at the very least, because there's a good chance that he is definitely going to play out of the slot, but there's a good chance that he gets some carries out of the backfield. And I wouldn't be surprised if he sees 6 to 7 targets with a couple of carries out the backfield as well. His role going into this season is something I'm very, very intrigued with.
We've got somebody here in the chat as we talk with Faraz Siddiqui, Upper Hand Fantasy, on a Fantasy Friday here on the Insiders. Somebody here in the chat, Cousin Pete, wants to know if he should keep Gabe Davis as a flex.
I think this week I'm a little weary on starting Gabe Davis. I would love to know what the other option is that you have, but the problem with that is this week against the Jets, DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, on the outside at home. I'm going to be there in the stands. Definitely rooting against Gabe Davis. That's for sure.
Okay. Are you a Jets fan?
I am a Jets fan.
Okay.
I am. Yeah. And but here's the thing, like, this is a tough matchup. Now, Gabe Davis has that ability to go over the top, and he's playing with Josh Allen, so anything
Sure.
can happen on a big play.
Yeah.
But not my favorite play this particular week. I would see if I can find another option.
I like this. Let's stay in the chat for a second. We've got from Peg for nope. Let's see, where'd it go? There we go.
All right.
Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins this week. Who would you start?
I like Kirk. I like Kirk Cousins this week. He has the weapons. They're in a pass-first offense. They're extremely pass-heavy, right? So now he has Justin Jefferson, obviously. He has Jordan Addison now, and TJ Hawkinson's going to play this week. So he's in an offense that's conducive to fantasy points. I think Tampa Bay's defense, especially in their secondary, not a secondary you really want to stay away from in terms of throwing the ball. So I'm not worried about that. I think their real strength is against the run. So I think they're really going to focus on the pass game this week. So I lean Kirk Cousins.
I love that. Are you starting any in one quarterback leagues? Are you starting any of the rookie quarterbacks this week?
No,
Okay.
I'm not. Even Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson would be the closest to that.
Sure.
I'd rather start him than CJ Stroud and who's the other
guy? Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Sorry. I'd rather start. Obviously he would be the closest thing to that. However, I'm still starting guys like Geno Smith.
Sure.
I'm still starting because Geno Smith has a great matchup against the Rams this week. So, I'm starting guys like that, like the fringe, like tight end, QB1 sort of quarterbacks that I would normally, make a decision over. I'm starting them over Anthony Richardson just for week 1, just to see how it goes, man. No JT. This is going to be interesting, to see what he does in this game. So all the pressure is going to be on him. Let's see what happens.
All right. Have you looked at the running back position for this week? Do you have any guys that you're just like, you got to start them no matter what? Specifically like positions where we're missing some people, like Jonathan Taylor, Kamara, all this stuff. Like where would you who would you start? Who would you sit at the running back position, especially with some of the injuries or suspensions?
I think there's two guys that are kind of on the fringe. People are not sure whether to start them or not. I think that's number one, Javonte Williams. Obviously he was drafted later. You weren't drafting him as your RB1 or RB2,
right.
But you were drafting him for the hope, that he can, thrive in Sean Payton's offense, despite him coming off a multi-ligament injury. It seems like he's going to be an outlier to the rule here, okay? Because if you're coming off a brutal injury, it's not just an ACL. Right, it's ACL plus a lot of other stuff that I can't pronounce. So the fact that he's coming back from that is really crazy. The fact that he got so much work in the preseason, in the second week of preseason with the first team, tells me a lot. And he was being targeted just like a Sean Payton running back would. And Sean Payton came out and literally just said going into week 1 that, hey, listen, Javonte is healthy. He's good to go. He's looking powerful. He's going to get a lot of work. So I'm going to take his word for it. And I actually have Javonte in my top 20 this week. I've been somebody who has been way against drafting Javonte because of the fact of what the data shows with these type of injuries. However, he seems to be an outlier, and I can't help but change up my process a little bit. That's one. The other guy that I'm looking to get in my lineup this week that you might not have thought that you would be starting him week 1 is Raheem Mostert. Right, Jeff Wilson was put on IR. This is a very good offense. Before Jeff Wilson was brought over to Miami last year after they traded for him, Raheem Mostert was getting a lot of the work. He was getting the goal line work. This is a really good offense, and there could be fireworks, against the Chargers this week. That was the second highest total besides the Chiefs and the Lions, and that didn't go. That was obviously on the under yesterday. This could potentially be the highest scoring game of the week. The Chargers were not a good run defense last year. They got a little bit of help, but I don't know if it's going to help a whole lot. I think Raheem Mostert could have a good game this week.
Faraz Siddiqui is who we're talking to here on The Insiders. You can find his work at Upper Hand Fantasy. We have somebody in our YouTube chat here, Taystar, wants to know if they should start Kyle Pitts, and then I'm curious how you feel about Kyle Pitts just kind of in general.
Yeah, I think Kyle Pitts is definitely, startable week 1. I have him around the tight end 6, tight end 7 range right now, just overall among all the tight ends. So definitely startable. The preseason usage with the first team was a little iffy. Like he was coming off the field a little bit, rotating a little bit more than you would like. Drake London was not. Okay, like he was on the field for almost every, drop back. So when you see that, yeah, that's like that makes you think a little bit. However, he was coming off that injury. I think they just wanted to keep it light with him in the preseason, just make sure he's good to go for week 1. So I have no trouble starting Kyle Pitts. Now, overall on Kyle Pitts, he is somebody that you should be betting on long term. Last year he was getting the type of target share, the type of air yard share that you would be happy with a wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
And he plays the tight end position. Okay. Yeah. So the fantasy points were not there. The production was not there, but all the underlying metrics you look for that determine whether a tight end is a really, really, really good fantasy tight end is there. Okay. So he's somebody that you buy low on. He's somebody that, in Dynasty, especially, in redraft, we'll see what happens. The offensive environment is a huge question here. Are they going to be super run heavy this year? Where both these guys, him and Drake London, can be fantasy relevant. They're going to be fantasy relevant, but will they be high-end assets, right? That's the question. So there are some questions, no doubt about it. But if this works out for Kyle Pitts, there is no doubt that he is the candidate to be the overall tight end 1 at some point.
Dang.
Okay, we had this discussion yesterday. Their ratings, that everyone has their ratings. Everyone's got their list, right? And I know from watching, was it The Ringer had Brock Purdy as a 32nd quarterback in the NFL. And I mean, again, we're talking about from a writer perspective, I don't, they have their own metrics and everything else, but from a fantasy perspective, where do you put Brock Purdy? Because again, watching the game unfold last night with Patrick Mahomes, and he's dropping back in the pocket and there's no one to throw to. That's just not the case. So while the talent between Mahomes and Purdy is great, the tools around him are spectacular for Brock Purdy. So where do you have him as a fantasy quarterback? And maybe coming into the season, what did you predict him as far as yardage, touchdowns, that type of stuff?
Well, first of all, he was the reason why, for me, Brock Purdy wasn't on my radar at the beginning of the offseason was because Trey Lance, I think, had a chance to potentially, take over. Only if Brock Purdy wasn't ready because of that elbow injury. Now, Brock Purdy's clearly the guy here. So he was somebody that I was aiming for in every single 2-quarterback Superflex draft I was doing. Why? Here are the top quarterbacks in fantasy points per dropback last year. Okay. Number 1, Jalen Hurts, no surprise. Number 2, Justin Fields, no surprise. Lamar Jackson, no surprise. Josh Allen, no surprise. Number 5, Patrick Mahomes, no surprise. Number 6, Brock Purdy.
Dang.
Ooh.
That's per dropback?
Per dropback. Fantasy points per dropback.
More than the $275 million man?
That's incredible.
Hey, man. So, that tells you what you need to know right there. And, whether you attribute that to Purdy and his talent, whether you attribute that to Kyle Shanahan, whether you attribute that to the weapons that are around him, who cares? Right? Yeah. Because that's the situation that he's in this year, right? Yeah. He has the same offensive line. He has the same coach. He has those weapons. So as long as he's healthy, he could be a fantasy, a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year. Very possible.
Dang. That's bananas. That's why I love fantasy football, because you can just strip out all the other kind of narrative stuff. It's like, what are they doing on the field? Well, that's all that matters.
Well, that, and I mean, when you mix that with the fact that he has an elite defense, I mean, that tells you that, he probably is
turnovers, extra possessions,
better than the 32nd quarterback.
You would hope so. Yeah. I got another starter sit for you as we talk to Faraz Siddiqui of Upper Hand Fantasy. Michigan Wolverines in our chat. It's not the university. It's not like they've got somebody. It's just what their name is. Wants to know if they should, in their flex, would you start Khalil Herbert or AJ Dillon?
Oh, that's a good one. I think I'm going Khalil Herbert here. He's the clear number 1 running back for them at the moment. He is one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL. If you talk in 2022 stats here, and he was the clear 1 in the preseason. Obviously, they have Deontay Foreman, they have Roschon Johnson. Right at his heels. But I think it's really going to be a matter of which one of those two become the RB2 in the situation, or the 1B. So Khalil Herbert is that guy. He's very efficient. And AJ Dillon, he's been taking a seat to Aaron Jones, right? And this preseason, like Aaron Jones has been playing like 1-2 snaps, and then they take him out of there and they leave AJ Dillon in for a while, a couple drives. So AJ Dillon's the clear number 2 in Green Bay. This isn't the Aaron Rodgers offense anymore, where both these running backs can potentially be very fantasy relevant. Even last year, Dillon was barely fantasy relevant when Aaron Jones was healthy. So I think Khalil Herbert's the way to go here.
All right, you are listening to the Insiders here on ESPN 1320. We're joined by Faraz Siddiqui from Upper Hand Fantasy on Fantasy Friday. Like we've gone through a bunch of Fantasy Friday.
I'm gonna make a sounder for that.
So yeah, we'll have to make some sort of sounder, right? We'll do something strange. Look, you are the Jets guy, we now know. But what do you make of Aaron Rodgers, and what do you make of their chances this season? As really they kind of went out and got the missing piece, the missing link that was kind of holding them back from being a really, really good football team in the last couple of years.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl
or bust. No, you know what? Okay,
I love that. I'd love that for you.
Listen, man. Yeah. Listen. Like we have been we've had terrible teams. Okay, so let me have my moment here. Okay, now. This is exciting, right? And I think it's not just about Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, he was like kind of that missing piece, right? The Jets, they're a good team. You look at their defense last year, that might have improved coming into this season. They could be one of the top defenses, probably top 5 at the very least. You could say. Do they have a chance of being the best defense in the NFL? I think so. Okay, I'm trying to put my Jets fandom aside here. I'm trying to be objective. Okay, Now on offense, I think the wide receiver position is a little iffy, after Garrett Wilson, obviously, but this is going to be a Devontae Adams type of situation in terms of that funnel passing offense to basically just funnel targets, to Garrett Wilson, and then everybody else kind of doesn't matter. He has his boy Allen Lazard. Randall Cobb is, he's much older wide receiver at this point. He's just there to kind of give him company. But, outside of that, they don't have much. And I would argue that I think the Jets are probably a team that needs a wide receiver the most. Probably not more than Patrick Mahomes after what we saw last night. I'm surprised they didn't go for DeAndre Hopkins, man. I'm surprised the Chiefs need him. Right? Anyway, I digress. But yeah, I think that's one of the situations. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers being there, the offense can move. He's with his old offense coordinator. As long as the Jets stay healthy, I think they can make the playoffs. The thing is, it's a really, really tough division, right? Miami, Buffalo. It's tough. Like we might not win the division. We might have to get in through the wild card. And all 3 of these teams are playoff teams, right? In the AFC East. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But the fact that Aaron Rodgers is there, that it kind of like matches our offense, with our defense a little bit. And looking forward to it.
For what it's worth, I'm not a Jets fan, so I don't think that's a homer take at all. Robert Saleh is a damn good football coach. That was a fine team last year that needed a little bit better quarterback play than they got from Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Chris Streveler, and who am I missing? There's one other one in there, right? Oh, Mike White. Yeah. They needed a little bit better quarterback play, and so they got Aaron freaking Rodgers. That defense is at least going to be sound with Robert Saleh. That's going to be a good team, dude.
I think so too.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is, just about to collect AARP.
Yeah, but he's significantly better than whatever the Jets were putting out last year, even if he's worse than MVP level. Right?
He is. And I love how you mentioned that he funnels to a wide receiver. Has anyone built wide receivers like Aaron Rodgers over the last 2 decades?
James Jones, Jordy Nelson,
Donald Driver. Yeah. It just keeps going on and on. All right. Well, for us, where can people find you?
I think Upper Hand Fantasy on Instagram is probably the best place to find me, to send me a message, that sort of thing. There's a lot of content out there as well, but also the Upper Hand Fantasy podcast as well. We'll be going 6 days a week, starting on Monday morning. So week 2, we're gonna get it popping.
Can't wait.
He just went over the top on us, Cal. He said, "Oh, you got 5 days?
Yeah,
no, we got 6.
6 days a week, baby."
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Off.
All right. You're listening to the Insiders on ESPN 1320, 98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. We'll see you in just a minute. Thanks, man.
Of course, guys.
Hope we didn't keep you long, but that was great stuff. People are just going nuts in the chat.
That's amazing. That's good to hear, man. Hopefully we can keep doing this. You know, this is fun. You know, you guys know football too, so this makes it super easy, right? So,
Yeah, totally,
yeah.
totally.
If you guys want to, you know, do this weekly or whatever, I'm completely down. I
Yeah,
would love to.
let's just book it 10:30 every Friday. That sounds good to me.
I think that sounds good to me too.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
I'll send you an email, but yeah, we're good to go with this.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys, man. All right, have a great weekend. Enjoy football on Sunday. All
Oh
right.
yeah, you too, man. Take care.
All right, take it easy.
Bye. All right, people. Stephen McBride, you asked this question. How many fantasy football leagues are too much? I am I used to play in all kinds of fantasy leagues, right? And to be honest, I stopped because it just got too much. Like it got too much, and I want to put as much as I can into actually like being successful in one league and trying to balance things and trying to get too many players on the same team for multiple leagues. So I stopped doing multiple leagues. My son plays like 3 or 4 leagues and then he splits my team with me. But I don't know, like 2 good leagues, if you have some really, really good, strong leagues, is where I kind of like cap out. After that, just gets watered down. And I also like I went through this phase where everyone would say, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll play." And then I get in these leagues, and if you don't read the rules before you get in, you just get killed by like stupid things. And so I stopped playing in a bunch of leagues because of that. Because like I don't want to like lose because somebody's kicker scored like 38 points on a weekend. I just think that's ridiculous. So, um, let's see. From David, choose Maple Bar or Bear Claw. Always Bear Claw. I don't like maple, but maple is big in my household. And my wife makes apple fritters from scratch, which are bomb. Like absolutely incredible, melt in your mouth. Spectacular apple fritters. Maybe I'll bring that in one day. Maple is fire. I don't, you know, again, my boys and my wife, they love the maple, but that ain't me. That ain't me. That's the first time that we have blown through a break. We just killed that one and said, "Oh, sorry." So I'm assuming this is a long commercial break. And I'll take this time too. Like, if you guys know who Brett Huff is, Brett Huff is a huge Kings fan, and he's absolutely spectacular. He's a good dude. His wife Tessa has cookbooks that are incredible. She's a baker, and my wife started baking. Kyle's looking at me like in a panic state.
What happened?
No, you back?
Yeah, no, so again, nobody cares, but I'm recording our stuff live.
Okay.
So that way I don't have to go grab it after the show. So that's what at the breaks I go in and I delete the breaks out and then and we got a long break here because we combined 2. We've still got like 3 minutes left. But no, Jesse and I working on a little something special here.
Okay. Wait, when are we back?
Like 3 more minutes.
3 more minutes. Okay.
Is it?
Somebody asked if I've tried cinnamon and donuts. Is that Tyler who asked that? I don't know. I don't think I have. Unless I have and I just don't know that that's the name of it. Steve McBride, I do not think Brett Huff is the former UC Davis Hooper. Although I'm not sure. But I highly recommend it. Like if you guys are looking for a gift for your spouse and they're looking for a new hobby, Tessa Huff's books are absolutely incredible. They're so cool. My wife makes all these layer cakes now, and we don't eat them. We have like a piece, and then that's it.
If you ever need someone to put away some layer cake, let me know.
I'll just bring them in. I will.
Dude, just drop them off.
I made some of the most amazing cakes. like the wife has made, and she was never a baker before,
Yeah.
and now she makes like these 3-tiered cakes
That's incredible.
with
No
all
training.
these different like fillings, and yeah, just amazing stuff.
Was this by any chance inspired by the Great British Baking Show?
Yes, we watched
Yeah, I
we
knew
watched
they
that
did something.
nonstop, and
It
then
is the perfect comfort show.
it is. It's
The
really
music's
cool.
nice. The judges aren't overly harsh, but it's also not like, wow, everybody's awesome. But the contestants are so supportive. When they tell their story, I'm just so in. That's such a great show.
I haven't got to the point where I critique the wife like this is stodgy. Like when that happens, I don't know. It's not good.
I would lie. I'd be like, no, this is really good.
Yeah.
Well, soggy bottom.
I love how
About a minute.
The Chatty House just goes sideways on tangents and topics.
It's one of my. I honestly, when I'm doing my hit with Kenny and Damien, I have to not have the Chatty House open.
Oh, really?
Not because I'm worried about what people are saying about me. It has nothing to do. I'll get distracted.
Okay.
Like yesterday when they were talking about bowl cuts and Ramsey ordering Chipotle burritos or burrito bowls or whatever, I was so dialed into that. It was so hard not to focus on it.
Oh, you were like, you wanted to jump in. And,
yeah, I wanted
and
to be part of it.
You wanted to DoorDash like right then.
About 30 seconds.
All right.
Hey, and don't forget, legal show open.
What,
hour 2 open.
Oh yeah, you're doing legal first and then show up.
And then the hour open. Yep.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna put commercials in your ears, and we're about ready.
Welcome back into the Insiders on ESPN 1320. I am James Ham, and joining me as always, Mr. Kyle Madsen. Kyle, how are you? How are you holding up?
I'm doing great, man. I'm having so much fun today.
You haven't dipped?
Do you know why?
The Sugar Rush hasn't dipped yet?
No. Do you know why I'm having so much fun?
Oh.
This is what Jesse and I were working on at the break. Fantasy Friday. It's our first drop. I'm so excited.
We're gonna have a few more takes on that one, I think. Maybe. I don't know. Like
That's because every Friday is a Fantasy Friday. Tickets are just $15.
This is amazing. Yeah. We always we're gonna start doing it next week, where we start talking about Tuesday overreactions, or we'll do Monday overreactions when it comes to football, specifically with 49ers or Raiders talk and stuff like that, especially since we do have the Raiders here on ESPN 1320. We're the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. But how much do we have to pull back from week 1 overreactions, especially when it comes to like a game that we just saw on Thursday, where I don't think Kadarius Toney could have had a worse game, and I don't think he'll have another game like that ever again. And if he does, he'll be like out on the street. Like that's not something that is allowed for someone to single-handedly destroy a team's, ability to win a game. I think Patrick Mahomes will walk in the room and just wave him himself and just say, "Hey, look, like you can go ahead and take whatever money we owe him out of mine, and I don't want him in here anymore." If that happens again, or if it happens again
that dramatically, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how do we avoid these overreactions from week 1, especially when it comes to a young quarterback like Brock Purdy, and like Niners are going to throw him out there to the Wolves and hope that it all works out. He does have some experience, but he's also coming off an injury, and like
a perfect example of reacting or overreacting to early season things in the NFL and we'll tie this to what we've got coming up with Raiders, Broncos, and Niners, Steelers. But the Chicago Bears beat the San Francisco 49ers in week 1 last season.
Oh,
And the Bears were dreadful. They were really bad. And the 49ers got beat. Don't get it twisted. They got smacked up in Chicago. That's what happened. But the 49ers did not play well. And the 49ers were a better team. And over the course of the year, that starts to bear itself out. And so
no pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So it was not actually that time, if you can believe that. So in week 1, I think it's important to make note of things.
Yep.
And to go, wow, Kadarius Toney was brutal. That is on the record. But also, and I know it's not fantasy, but it fits into that. Like with what Faraz was saying last segment, you can't overreact to one performance from a player who's shown he's very explosive, has all this talent. So I'm going to make that note of, hey, you know what? Kadarius Toney was not very good. But I'm also not going to go into next week and like betting against the Chiefs, or I'm not changing my take that the Chiefs are the top team in the AFC right now. Like, they're still the defending champs. They had a tough week 1. Kadarius Toney's a good player, or at least a talented player, who had a very, very bad week 1. Travis Kelce wasn't playing. Chris Jones isn't there. Like, there's so many things that could that'll happen between now and week 5 and week 10 and week 18, where Kadarius Toney dropping a couple passes in week 1 isn't ultimately going to really matter.
I totally agree. And the fact is, they still lost by 1 point. Like,
that's the thing.
And I would like to say that the Lions won that game. They did a good job of finishing it. They finished it the way you have to finish a game. Yeah. They got the first downs. They salted the clock out. But for me, the Chiefs lost that game. Like, Kadarius Toney, unfortunately, lost that game. It's not like that you can't point to specific plays. I mean, the pick 6 doesn't happen. Can they score? And in fact, they couldn't score all game.
Yeah.
If he catches the one ball that's like right in the breadbasket and just does anything, just catches and falls down, they're still not that far away from, a game leading field goal attempt. So, I think it's interesting, because what we have to do is, like, you always have to pull back a little bit and say, look, I'm not just going to go all in on, but I think the cool thing about having Faraz Siddiqui in is he talks about fantasy football in a way that I don't think that I've ever listened to anyone that talks about fantasy football in the way where he starts talking about percentage of routes, of targets on routes, and
deep
stuff.
Numbers.
Yeah. Those deep numbers are really intriguing to me,
for sure,
because they end up being, like some of the advanced metrics that we talk about in basketball all the time, or the advanced statistic, the advanced like salary cap discussions we have, where there's so much nuance to the why, not just what happened. It's one thing you have a guy, I remember years ago, Marcus Robinson got 4 touchdowns on week 1,
right? With the Chiefs, right?
No, I think it's with the Bears.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm thinking of DeMarcus Robinson. Sorry, keep going.
Marcus Robinson. So, and then he ends up with nothing, right? Like, he has a season that just doesn't end up well at all. And actually, I have a friend who is playing in this huge fantasy football league with a big buy-in. He leads the entire season, whole season. He's 1-2. He's leading. Week like 14, some guy starts coming out of nowhere, and like, he's all of a sudden way up the leaderboard. He's like, what's happening here? And then right at the last second, he overtakes my buddy. And this was like a big national, and the payout was, I think, $25,000.
Oh my God.
He loses on the final game of the season by like 3 points, right? So he's just distraught, and he loses out on like $25,000. He gets an email, and the guy who sends him the email, the reason I bring up Marcus Robinson's 4 touchdowns, an email hits his inbox and says, "Hey, they cheated you, and I know how." He's like, "What?" So he responded back. He's like, "Look at his week 1." He's like, "Okay." He's like, "He started Marcus Robinson." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Marcus Robinson wasn't available in week 1 in our league, in the league itself. He wasn't available because he was like a surprise. He had been injured for a couple of years.
Yeah.
They made a phantom team and beat him with a phantom team that they rebuilt so they didn't have to do the payout.
That's bananas.
Bananas. So he sent an email to the people who ran the league, again, a huge national thing, and said, hey, I have proof that you guys cheated and that I would have won. And lo and behold, he got an envelope in the mail a couple of days later with a cashier's check for $25,000.
Wow. Hey, you know what? Good on them for sending the money. They got caught. That's the thing. If you're going to cheat, you get caught. Just admit it. Yeah, you got me. Here's the money. My bad.
Wild.
That's really, really nuts.
But he won a lot of money playing fantasy football. I thought he was a good fantasy football player. I didn't think.
No, clearly, if he's winning 25 grand.
Yeah, he was good fantasy. We played in leagues together for a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm not. I have a weird thing with the Niners this week and talking about overreacting to things.
Yeah.
If they go out and play poorly, that's not something I'm going to lose my mind about. And on a case by case basis, really depending on how things look. But if they just kind of play and there's a couple turnovers and the Steelers get a couple of big plays and kind of goes how last year's Bears game went. No, the Steelers are better than the Bears were last year, but just kind of goes like, okay, they lost. I'm not going to really freak out. But if they go in and play really well in Pittsburgh and just control the game and win it 24-14, and there's never really a doubt that whether they're gonna win, I'll feel really good about them going forward. But if they don't play well, I'm not gonna feel horribly about them going forward.
Yeah, it's like when the Kings lost the first 4 games of the season. It is what it is. Sometimes you lose. They figured it out, and then they rattle off a bunch of wins.
If the 49ers lose the first 4 games of their season, I'm going to call their season over.
Oh, no. Their season's over.
I just want you to know that. I want everybody to know that.
Yeah, that's their first 4 games of the season aren't great.
If they're 0-4, I'm pulling the plug.
Yeah, that would
put
be a
Sam
rough
Darnold in.
All right. You're listening to The Insiders on ESPN 1320, 98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll preview some more football stuff.
Yeah, we got Raiders Broncos to talk about. We got Niners Steelers to talk about. We got a ton to get into.
We do. We have all kinds of stuff. And Kyle wants to do NFL season predictions.
Yeah, he does.
We'll see how that goes.
Come on.
Let's
go, baby.
We'll be back in just a minute.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the Endless Summer Sale.
We did have that break right there, right? Oh. Hello, everyone. Hi, Lizzie. Nice of you to join us. Kyle did pick the Lions. He has the receipts. I did not. Marcus Jones. We did see the Team USA game. I watched quite a bit of it, including the end. Kyle Ham, when can I call in?
Hey, Jesse. Yeah. Would you judge me if I ate another donut?
And I hear you, Kyle, right? Kyle doesn't have his headphones on. Let me make sure I hear you. I'm not going to judge you if you have a second donut, Kyle, which I could hear all of that. I can hear.
My mic is on.
Kyle is learning when his mic is on, when it's not. There's all these
That's
buttons.
So funny.
There's all of these buttons.
Hey, y'all, I'm eating a second donut later, but I'm not doing it on camera.
Kyle, I had a second donut. I have to be honest. But
hey, watch me go to do that, and I'm actually standing like in the window while you're on camera, and I'm just
I love the little blueberry donuts, like the old school. Yeah, we're gonna get to that, right?
Get to what?
That right there, the Team USA.
Man, we got a ton of football to get into still. We can talk about USA at the breaks.
Okay.
Or sprinkle it in a little bit.
Okay. I haven't written down my predictions. I'll just wing it.
Yeah, I'll say a division. Let's actually do that. That's fine.
Right. What are we coming out of break with? What do you want to?
Right now, I need to do my show notes. 30 seconds.
All right.
I've got something for you. I got something coming up.
You want to come out of it?
Yeah.
All right.
I have some worries about the 49ers, James.
Okay.
Like I was just talking about how I'm not going to overreact to stuff,
Okay.
but we've talked a lot lately just about how, like, these reasons for optimism, right?
Yes.
Like, where do they rank? They're ranked in at number 10. That's too low. Brock Purdy's the 32nd best quarterback in this ranking. That's too low. But I think there's just so many things that can go wrong for the 49ers. And if Brock Purdy is the player that the 49ers believe him to be, because the 49ers think Kyle Shanahan and the people in that building think he is their franchise guy.
Yep.
They don't have the same questions we all do. They are like, that's a dude. He's taking us where we need to go.
It's very similar to the way that the Kings view Keegan Murray.
Yes.
They
very
believe
much so.
He is a star.
Yes.
That he's going to be the guy.
That's a perfect comparison.
Okay.
That's the boat the 49ers are in with Brock Purdy.
Yes.
So whether you think that or as a fan you think that, it doesn't matter. That's where the 49ers are, right? There's just such a easy chance that Brock Purdy is a Jimmy Garoppolo type where your margin for error, because the goal is if they get that franchise guy, their margin for error widens, right? Their defense doesn't need to be as good. They can deal with some injuries, all that. But there's just such a real chance to me that Brock Purdy's good, but their margin for error is still so small. They turn it over twice, ball game, unless they get a couple of turnovers of their own. But they turn it over twice, ball game. Defense, it slips up for a couple of weeks. Man, Niners have lost a couple in a row. They're down 4 with a minute and a half left, and it's on Purdy to drop back and make throws. Oh, he can't do it. I think that's too real of a thing. And I don't think it's getting talked about enough because we're talking about it. We always talk about Brock Purdy in the lens of a good game script. We always talk about Brock Purdy and okay, he just needs to distribute to McCaffrey and distribute to Debo. Well, that's in the context of, hey, there's a tight end and a fullback and they can run it or pass it. They're going to do play action. They're going to get him on the move. Defenses don't know what's coming. But in those spots where there's 90 seconds left and they're down 4, they need a touchdown and they have the ball on their own 25. Defense knows you're dropping back and passing. You're going 4 or 5 wide and you're letting it rip. There's way too easy of a chance that Brock Purdy is not that dude. And I don't think that gets discussed enough because we're all so enamored with the Niners playmakers, and that's fine. And it's going to help them win a lot of games. But I'm worried about crunch time with this team because that's where they've fallen apart every year, save last year because the quarterback situation was a mess. But in 2019, crunch time of the Super Bowl, quarterback fell apart. 2021, NFC Championship game, crunch time, quarterback fell apart. They had 2 opportunities with Jimmy Garoppolo in that game and couldn't get it done. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's because teams can key in on their passing game and it's game over.
Okay. So here's how
I wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I get you. But like, look, Brock Purdy's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Justin Herbert. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Joe Burrow. Like, he's not those guys. He's different. He is, again, if we look at historically, I can keep saying who he's not. He's not John Elway. He's not Dan Marino. He's not Peyton Manning. But who he can be, I still will hold to this. I think he can still be Drew Brees. Like, I think he can be that guy. And I don't know if he's going to put up 5,000 yards. I don't know if that's going to be the case. But, like, if you compare arm strength, you compare, like, the body style, you compare everything about him, I actually think he's a little more mobile. But that's where, like, look, the Niners don't need a game manager. This team wins 12 games. That's how I look at it. Their defense is so good that just as standard, if you run Trent Dilfer out there, vintage Trent Dilfer,
I love this.
You're going to win 12 games.
No.
Yes. If you just game manage this thing, you're going to win 12 games. That's how good they are. Offensively, all he has to do is hand off to one of the best running backs in the league, or he can do an end around with one of the best playmaking wide receivers in the league, or he can throw over the middle on a short pass to one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league. Brandon Ayuk is becoming a absolute weapon. Like, there are so many weapons around him. I think the biggest thing for me, the way this whole thing falls apart now that, of course, Nick Bosa's back, there's one player that maybe this does all hinge on, and that's Trent Williams. If Trent Williams doesn't hold up, then this team would be in some trouble in my mind.
I agree with you.
And that's how I think if you take away the safety net of just having enough time to get the ball out and just being able to stay off the dirt all game long, which is what Trent Williams does, then Brock Purdy should be just fine.
No, I'm with you. I think he is going to be just fine. My question about him, and this is something I've been trying to articulate for a while, and I've not been able to, but my question about him is that spot where, hey, he can't hand it off. They don't have any time.
Can he win a game if he needs to?
Yeah.
Is your question.
Can it be Brock Purdy drop back making throws? Defense is sitting on it. They're rushing 3 and dropping 8. And it's going to be Brock Purdy dragging them to victory. I just don't think that's getting discussed enough as a potential pitfall for San Francisco.
Okay, so I don't think that they're going to be in the position where they need to do that all that often.
Sure.
I think that this team is going to put up a bunch of points.
Yeah.
And they're going to hold their opponent to very few points.
But in the biggest games of the year.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest games of the year, but I think really it boils down to, like, this is a playoff team no matter what, in my mind. So I think they're going to have trouble with, like, their kicking game. We haven't, like, their kicking game is a nightmare.
That's another great one.
It's a horrible issue that, like, either they fix or they don't. And like, hopefully
that's another great one.
Like, there could be an epiphany moment with Moody and like everything just locks in, or they could, call Robbie Gould and say, hey, come back and save us. Like, there are some things that could happen here. Right. But for me, I don't think that they're going to be in that situation all that often. Like, the first 4 games of the season, you got Pittsburgh, who's going to be tough. But I also think that the 49ers are a much better team.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the rest of the next 3 games, like, we might get an overinflated sense of worth because they go 4-0.
Sure.
But that's not a good 4 teams that they're up against. Like, you should win most of those games, if not all.
They're better than, they're going to be better than most of the teams they play this year, for sure.
Yes.
And they should minimum go 3-1. The thing that doesn't, and you brought this to the Steelers, and I'm glad, because that's where I wanted to go. Something that hasn't gotten talked about, another thing that hasn't gotten talked about enough. Talanoa Hufanga has just this cyst thing in his knee, and there was no, like, Talanoa Hufanga injured his knee, it's getting checked out. It just kind of showed up, and Shanahan just brought it up one day, and then Talanoa Hufanga was limited Wednesday, and now he was out yesterday of practice, but it said for a personal matter. No details on that, so hopefully everything's okay with him there. But before, he's not talking as though it doesn't sound like he's doing great and everything's fine. The other one is Travarius Ward practiced in full on Wednesday and then was a non-participant with a heel injury yesterday.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's really not great. And it's not like the Steelers have this super dynamic wide receiving core. I think they can survive. But if it winds up that they're throwing out rookie Jair Brown in the back end of the secondary next to Tayshaun Gibson, and you're now Ambry Thomas is probably your other outside corner with Deommodore Lenoir. Like, he was fine in the preseason, but he was a non-factor last year because it wasn't any good. There are so many areas of concern going into this game for the 49ers. And I thought that was the case even before the injury stuff started cropping up.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but, like, assist behind the knee or in the knee, I mean, that's usually something that they relieve with a needle that goes in and like they're able to dissipate those things pretty quickly. I'm not that concerned. Like, sure, if they're missing for multiple games, that's one thing, but I don't think it might be a week one thing. It might even not even be a week one thing. Like, he might be okay. And
maybe
even still, like, they have so much depth. They have so many playmakers on the defensive side of the ball that you're still talking about, like, that defensive line. We haven't seen it in full function yet. That defensive line should just be like monstrous.
Yeah.
Like, quarterbacks are going to be running scared.
I'm so interested to see what Nick Bosa's playing time looks like. I think they're probably going to play him like half the snaps, but what they do is they use him in the first 2 quarters as like a situational edge rusher.
Okay.
Like second and long, third and long, passing situations. It's get on the field, go get the quarterback. And that's going to be his de facto like training camp and preseason. And then in the third and fourth quarters, depending on how the game script's going, if the Niners are up a couple touchdowns, then maybe they hold him back a little bit. But if it's close, like I think it's going to be, they're going to need Nick Bosa on the field in the fourth quarter, man, and playing a lot. It can't be, hey, go be on the field in obvious passing situations. Like, no, you need him to go make plays for the entire quarter. So that's how I think they're going to ramp him up the first couple of quarters, maybe sprinkle him in a little more in the third quarter, and then fourth quarter, it's going to be a full go.
Okay.
And I think by that way, they'll get to about half the snaps.
I really like I think you're right. And you bring up the defensive backs. I really like the receivers for Pittsburgh. I think they do have some, I like Deontay Johnson.
Johnson's good.
I like Pickens. And
George Pickens, I think, could be very good, but
yeah,
jury's out on if he's a deep ball artist and that's it, or if there's more to his game.
I'll tell you who would love to have those wide receivers. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, he sure would.
All right, you are listening to The Insiders on ESPN 1320, 98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. We'll be back in just 1 minute, and we're going to do predictions, division winners, wild card, Super Bowl. Who's going to win it all? Our clock is all weird, and like our rundown's all weird. I'm like, where are we? We haven't got to. Yeah, hey, Soren Smith. Like you bring up this that Drew Brees is a top 10 quarterback ever, played like 6 games. Yeah, but look at the play style. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he is Drew Brees. Like, we know he's not Patrick Mahomes. We know he's not Lamar Jackson. It's really easy to say who Brock Purdy is not. But we do also know that he has a lot of potential and could actually be pretty good. And he was really good in the 7 games he played or whatever it was, including the playoffs. Oh, David, don't say those things. Don't say that out loud. Because 3 hours in this chair could be the death of me. If you guys are hanging out in the chatty house, you don't mind, give us a thumbs up. That helps everything. I think I'm going to have a pod later on this evening with Brendan Nunes. Maybe Sean Cunningham, but probably just Brendan tonight. Sean has some stuff going on. So look for that. Also written something on the Kings beat, and I have not put it out yet. I haven't hit publish.
What are you writing?
Well, I kind of wrote about the take that I had earlier in the week about if Sasha Vezenkov can be what Keegan Murray was last year, then that allows Keegan to be something much bigger. But I did it in word form. Typing form. And we haven't really talked a lot about Team USA getting bounced. That was pretty jarring. Like,
Jaren Jackson Jr. is a fraud.
See, we got to talk about this on the air. We got to talk about this. Like, that's a bold statement, Kyle.
No, I know it is, and I'm ready to go to air with it. Let's talk about it. Let's
Final segment?
Yeah, final segment.
Final segment.
All right, here we go.
I like the noise that Kyle is bringing. Kyle, you got a vibe, Kyle. You got a vibe. It's a different vibe than D'Lo and Casey, but it's your own vibe, and I'm down with this. Yeah, I'm
K-pop
cool.
dog.
All right, all right. See, I don't think I'll be at a K-pop concert ever.
God.
I don't know. We'll put it right there with Travis Scott.
Song's called "Bite Me" by N-Hyphen. If you want to check it out.
All right. Maybe Kyle will take me to a K-pop concert.
Dog, if a K-pop show happens at Golden One, you and me are going, and we're gonna take videos for social.
All right, all right. I don't know if that's gonna happen because
no, it is.
We'll see, Kyle. We'll see. Just like the Travis Scott thing, I don't know that I'm going to a Travis Scott concert with D'Lo and Casey. They're like, you don't want to go near the pit. I'm like, no, James, just go near the pit. What is happening? I'm not going near the pit.
That's fine.
Kyle, you want us to do predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
You want us to do predictions, and so once again, I am proven wrong. I understand this to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
In your show notes, are you going to actually like put what James said was going to happen, and then we'll revisit it at the end of the year? So I look like a complete.
No. These are going into the ether.
Okay,
we'll record them. It'll be available on the podcast. Right now, our shows are going up on the D'Lo and Casey podcast feed.
Okay.
Until we get our own, that's when we'll be official.
Okay.
So if you're not already subscribed to D'Lo and Casey, all their shows, all their content goes up on that podcast feed. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. Download the free Odyssey app. You can find it there. You can also listen to ESPN 1320 via the Odyssey app. You just search ESPN 1320, hit favorite, and then if you listen in your car and you have to get out of the car, you just pop the app on. That's what I do when I get home.
See, Kyle's really good at that. Kyle, why don't we see if you're really good at the pick'ems?
That's a great transition.
Let's go. What do we got? All
right, let's start in the NFC West. I have the 49ers winning the NFC West.
I too have the 49ers winning the NFC West. I'm going to go bold here and say I expect regression from the Seattle Seahawks.
Ooh. I think Seattle's still going to be pretty good, but I think the Niners are maybe a game or two better. And I think Seattle does snag a wild card spot, though.
Okay. I think they're more like a 9-8, 10-7 team. I'm not sure that they're better than that. I mean, you get, at least 4 wins in division that are gimmies.
Sure.
So
their schedule is tough, but yeah. I like what Seattle did for the most part last year. Geno wasn't as good in the second half of the year as he was in the first half. So you may be right. Maybe they fall back and they're 9-8 or something, and just kind of where they were last year. But I like I said, I think the Niners are at least a game or two better, and I think they win the division.
I'm already regretting drafting Kenneth in my fantasy draft.
Kenneth Walker.
I am. Kenneth.
That's okay.
I need you to play Kenneth.
He will. Zach Charbonnet will play a little bit, but Kenneth Walker's a good player.
He's got to shake off the groin strain and go.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
All right, what do we got? Let's go.
NFC North. This one's tough. I think I kind of like last night. Obviously, the Lions won, and so you want to lean Lions. I think the Packers are still going to be really good. They might be more defensive centric than we're used to, and maybe they lean a little more on Aaron Jones as a running back than they used to, with Jordan Love kind of still getting acclimated in his first season as a starter. But I saw enough from Jordan Love that I think he can run the offense, and Matt LaFleur runs kind of a Kyle Shanahan type of scheme. So I think they're going to be able to move the football. I think their defense is really talented. I'm going to pick Green Bay as a sneaky winner in the NFC North.
Okay.
With the Lions grabbing a wild card spot. The Vikings are fraudulent. Get the Vikings out of my face.
I am going to go Vikings and say I think Kirk Cousins has found himself as an NFL player. I think for a long time he was like the butt of many jokes. And that he struggled with like who he is. And I think that a light bulb went on last season. Where like the gold necklaces, now we got like the handlebar mustache. I think that I think he's realized that he can be a very, very good player.
I thought you were going to say he's realized that he's a huge dork.
Yeah, I think being a dork, but embracing that and not being
Sure.
worried about who and what he is,
Mhm.
because I feel like for a long time he was worried about how he was perceived.
Do you know who Kirk Cousins is, though?
Okay.
He's the quarterback that throws it short of the sticks on 4th down with their playoff hopes on the line, or their
Okay.
season on the line in the playoffs against
Yeah.
the Giants at home last year. I'm out on the Vikings. And it's not even so much Kirk Cousins, because I don't disagree with what you're saying about Kirk.
Yep.
I think for the most part, he is better than people give him credit for, but I'm just out on the Vikings as a team. I don't think, maybe they go 13-4 and they surprise me, but I thought last year they won a ton of games by the skin of their teeth in a way that wasn't like, wow, gritty Vikings win. That's a good team. It's just kind of, oh, that was a weird circumstance that they won that game. So I'm not buying the Vikings this year.
I'm sticking with the team that went 13-4.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. NFC South.
Oh, man.
I think the Saints are going to win the NFC South. I think the Saints are going to make a push for the 1 seed.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think the Saints might be good as heck.
You're all in on Carr?
I'm just all in on well, Carr being better than the quarterback play they had last year. No disrespect to Andy Dalton. He was fine. But
Was he?
I think he was fine. He was just okay. Do you remember him against the Niners? He's slinging it a little bit. So I think that's a really talented receiver group. I think their defense is very good. Whether Dennis Allen is a good coach or not, I'm not totally sure. But I think they are, with respect to the Falcons, who I also think might surprise some people, I think the Saints are the best team in that division.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I think Chris Olave is an up-and-coming wide receiver and is going to be a stud,
Yeah, he's super good.
especially with Carr. I really, really like that they went out and got Jamal Williams.
Mhm.
He's a sledgehammer, and we'll see what happens with Kamara after the suspension and stuff. But he's getting up there, and I think it. But I'll also I cringed a little bit with the Andy Dalton take, because if a fellow ginger can't get behind you, then I don't think you're very good.
I don't think he's great. I don't think he should be starting, but he was serviceable last year. And Derek Carr is definitely better than he is.
Oh, it's a huge upgrade.
Yeah,
Huge.
absolutely, no question. NFC East, I have the Eagles.
Yeah,
and I think the Cowboys grabbed the last wildcard spot.
I agree with both. Yeah, I think that's kind of the way it will go. I don't have a lot of faith in the Giants.
Me neither.
Dan Jones just does anyone get hit harder than that guy? He doesn't even know how to slide right.
He is the most interesting quarterback in the world. He is so fascinating to watch.
He's Elvis Gerbach 2.0. He's just running around with this giant melon that everyone runs and tries to hit. He's like a moving piñata.
Yeah,
he really is.
Let's go to the AFC West. I still have the Chiefs winning the AFC West.
Yeah. I mean, is it?
The Chargers should be good.
The Chargers should be good.
I'm buying the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to turn it around a little bit. But
you're doing the let's ride.
Yeah, Broncos country. Let's ride, baby. You know me, big Russell Wilson guy. No, I think Sean Payton's going to get things squared away, and the talent's going to kind of rise to the top there.
I think if anyone can get that team on the right page, it's Sean Payton.
Sure.
Just because he's not going to allow the weirdness it was Russell
Yeah,
Wilson.
no, he's already putting his foot down. Where do we go next? AFC North?
Yep, that's fine.
Oh, he's got to be Cincinnati.
Over Baltimore?
Over Baltimore, for now. Baltimore might just be a buzzsaw on offense this year if Todd Monken changes things the way that I think he can.
I don't like Lamar Jackson as a thrower at all. And there's a reason why they've had no good wide receivers there. And I just don't know, OBJ can actually help you. I just don't know that, I don't.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be their third guy. I think Rashad Bateman can play.
Yeah.
I think Zay Flowers, their rookie from Boston College, can play. So I'm in on their receivers, but I'm just in on a passing game that's not designed by Greg Roman.
Okay.
That's
I get you. I get you. I just I never bank. It's the fantasy football player in me. I never bank on rookie wide receivers.
That's fine.
I think Jamar Chase is like one of like such an outlier. Justin
Mhm.
Jefferson, just
yeah, but
tremendous
even if
outliers.
but if he's if Zay Flowers is Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson, like you love that for Baltimore.
Yeah.
For sure. And they still have Mark Andrews who's a little banged up. AFC South, boy, it's the Jags for me. And I think the Jags run away with it.
I don't think there's anyone else even.
I don't believe in
close.
Tennessee at all.
It's always tough to believe in a team like Jacksonville because they just haven't proven that they can do it. And, they have like these moments and you're like, oh, okay, they're interesting.
Yeah, won a playoff game last year.
Yeah, but I think they've got offensive weapons. They are going to be fun to watch. They always, for some reason, have a great defensive line. So, yeah, I'm sticking with you there, too. I did not think that we would agree on so many of these.
Yeah, but that's what, dude, Donut Friday, agreeing on these picks. Let's rip through these last couple. AFC East. Boy, I think I'm going to pick the Jets. I'm going to pick the Jets over the Bills. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to go wild.
I'm a firm believer in the Jets defense, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to elevate them to a new level.
I am trying to win points here with Jesse. I think the Miami Dolphins.
Come on. He picked the Dolphins. I don't know if you can hear that, Jesse, but I actually have the Dolphins going to the Super Bowl. So I think they get out of there as a wild card. But I love that pick, dude. I think the Dolphins, if they get that defense right without Jalen Ramsey, I think they're going to be really, really hard to beat. I love that pick by you. That's a great selection.
Okay.
Super Bowl. I have the Eagles beating the Dolphins.
I'm going to be like super vanilla here.
I love it. Go Chalk. Let's go.
I'm going to say Chiefs Niners.
Okay. Did the Niners get over the hump this year?
They do.
Yeah, come on.
I don't know why I'm saying that. That's where I'm going now.
Mark the tape. That's funny to say because I would mark it.
Mark the tape. All right. You are listening to The Insiders on ESPN 1320, 98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. We'll be back for one final segment of our first week here on The Insiders.
We're going to talk about why Jaren Jackson Jr. is fraudulent.
Fraudulent.
Yeah, he is.
Fraudulent. We'll see you in a few. Oh. What's going on, Chatty House? Fraudulent. How is everybody? You took Lamar in the third round. That's high. I don't know. It depends on what kind of league you're in. Like, again, watching Mahomes run down the field as someone who wants him to be healthy all season is not a good thing to watch him have like 26 yards rushing. But at the same time, fantasy wise, like, hey, that's 2.6 points. I'll take it. I will not be watching the NFL on the boat while barbecuing this weekend. I will be in Las Vegas. We've talked about this week on the show, but the wife and I are taking off to Vegas tomorrow after. Well, like we have like a 1:45 flight. We're catching Ed Sheeran tomorrow night. We're catching Lady Gaga on Sunday. I will be somewhere watching football all day on Sunday and then racing to Lady Gaga. And then flying back early on Monday morning. So I can be here for the show. I might do. Welcome back into the Insiders on ESPN 1320. I am James Ham. Joining me, Kyle Madsen. Kyle, our picks are in. I clearly just followed your lead on all of them, so I'm not egregiously wrong. No, I'm down with Miami. I think Miami can be there. We do have basketball, which is something that I often talk about. Is basketball.
You dabble in that sport a little bit?
I do dabble in that sport. I've spent well, what is it? 17 hours, and you're an expert at something. 17,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
At 10,000, I thought it was higher than that. Well,
I believe it's 10,000 hours, but you can consult the fraud Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay. I definitely have more than 10,000 hours, and
Yeah.
so I feel like I might be an expert in some things.
Sure.
But Team USA fall to Germany in the World Cup, 113 to 111. They have been eliminated from gold medal contention. The gold medal game is set. It is Germany versus Serbia. Serbia bounced Team Canada. Jordi Fernandez. So, Kyle, this is kind of a bummer because we could have had the what if game. The what if game. What if the Kings still had Tyrese Halliburton and Bogdan Bogdanovic, and they were playing against each other for a gold medal this weekend?
That would have been fun.
Would have been fun. I don't know. I watched enough of Team USA today to think, number one, why didn't they do defensive subs to try to slow down?
Yeah, they brought in Cam Johnson for a little bit in the first half, but
yeah, like Dennis Schroeder just
cooking, dude.
What they did is they were just looking for the switch.
Yes.
So they would switch, and whoever was guarding Austin, is it Austin Reeves?
Whoever Austin Reeves is guarding,
yeah, whoever he was guarding, they would just bring him up and have him set the screen, and then it was barbecue chicken. It's like, hey, see ya. And they would just run by Reeves and score, or take Reeves in the post and score.
And now, and this is why I said Jaren Jackson Jr. is a fraud.
Yep.
The defensive player of the year in the NBA, the best league in the world, right? The NBA champion is the world champion, right?
World champion.
Right. Okay. And that's fine. I am there. I thought Sasha Vezenkov in his press conference gave a great answer on why. NBA champion is beating the best team from any other league in the world. They're the world champs. Okay,
yes.
Fine. So the defensive player of the year in the best league in the world can't stay on the floor in the FIBA World Cup? 3 rebounds? Just a non-factor defensively?
3 rebounds is it's like 2 below his average.
He doesn't.
He got a little higher this year,
but go do literally anything. That's how the Warriors get away with, because Steve Kerr knows this. Hey, teams are going to pick on Steph. Steph's defender is going to run over to the ball handler, and then they're going to switch, and Steph's going to be on it. He's going to do his best, but Lord help him. But they're going to figure it out behind him and rotate to ensure that they're not just getting flambéed every possession.
I agree. I'm just pulling up Aldrin J here in the chat. De'Aaron Fox would have led USA to gold. Fact or fiction? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think that guard play was their problem necessarily. I think De'Aaron's a better defender than Reeves would have been, but he's not going to play in that same spot.
No,
I thought Anthony Edwards was fine for the most part. I think maybe he tried to do a little bit too much.
I thought he tried to do too much. I mean, he put up numbers, but I thought he tried to do too much.
Yeah.
And I thought they did not. They took the ball out of Halliburton's hands.
Mm-hmm.
That was a mistake.
I agree.
And I also thought that just the way that Edwards was dribbling out and taking too much time and really mucking up the game, it took Halliburton completely out. Because even late, he had a opportunity where he could have fired a 3-point shot that would have been majorly impactful. And instead, he took a couple of steps in and threw a soft cross pass to Reeves, who got fouled on the play, but the pass was so soft that he couldn't fire the 3.
Right.
And I thought that was just like, you felt like Tyrese wasn't fully involved in the game.
Yeah. Which is shocking, because that's one of Steve Kerr's big things. As a career role guy, like, you got to get everybody involved. You got to keep everybody involved.
Yeah.
And it was such an odd, And I know it's hard when you have a roster that talented because there's always going to be a player that we look and go, hey, why didn't that guy play more? But I did not think it was managed particularly well. Also, while we're on the subject of frauds, I don't think Austin Reeves is fraudulent. I think everything he's done in the league has been well earned, and he's going to be a good player and a starter on good teams. I'm not. But watching him try to grift his way to fouls is one of the most infuriating things to watch.
Kevin Martin-esque.
Just the way it's how many threes did he pass up today? Like open threes, waiting for the defender to close out so he could pump fake, dribble, crash into somebody. Like, oh my God, just take it's a driving kick. Shoot it.
Trey Lyles called. He wants his pump fake back.
Dude, what are we? Come on, man.
Yes.
Especially you're down 4 with 2 minutes left. We don't need to get to the free throw line, my guy.
Yes. Very, very strange. And also they were running like the whole end looked like a 4 flat. Like you're just having Anthony Edwards sit there and dribble and try to win the game.
It looked like the Warriors without Steph Curry.
It was very, very awkward to watch. And hey,
Steve Kerr, fraudulent is what I'm saying.
Oh no. I will not be saying that.
Everybody's fraudulent today. Fraudulent Friday.
A fraudulent Friday. Yeah, like exactly. It is what it is. Like you didn't send your A team and you got beat. Yep. And now Bogdan Bogdanović is going for gold, baby. He's going for gold.
Are you okay? Are Kings fans rooting for Bogdan?
They should be.
Are people pulling for Bogey? He was. That game winner against the Lakers was a moment.
He's one of my favorite players to cover because he just it was about winning. He was so confused by losing that a lot of players come in and they come from these programs that, like a De'Aaron Fox at Kentucky. How many games did he lose in college? Like
2?
Yeah, 2, maybe 3. He gets to the pros and it's like you get smacked down. Well, Bogey was like unacceptable. Like this is not basketball.
I love the idea of somebody being confused by losing.
Oh,
the clock hits 0 and they're behind. Like, what the hell happened?
One of my favorite moments with Bogey was Sean Cunningham asked him that game snowballed on you a little bit, right? And he looks at Sean. And then he looks at me, and I'm like, "Do you not know what snowballed means?" He goes, and I'm like, "It was little, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and got out of control." Yeah. He's like, "Oh, yes, the game did snowball."
Very much did.
Yeah, it's like the American colloquialisms that he just didn't have all of them down.
Yeah, it's
fine. Look, I'm excited to the bronze medal game. I like playing for the bronze medal. That doesn't mean much, and you shouldn't I'm sure that Tyrese Halliburton is going to put it in the back of his sock drawer.
Yeah.
He does not want to show people his bronze medal. But you got to go after it right here. You got to prove that you're still big brother over Canada. Canada, of course, lost to Serbia. They melted down very,
they did.
Yeah, they didn't have a great night either. But I think that it should be at least fun to watch Team USA versus Team Canada. Jordi Fernandez going to finish ahead of Team USA. That would be interesting.
Are you rooting for Jordi Fernandez? If you're a Kings fan, are you rooting for Jordi Fernandez or Tyrese Halliburton?
Jordi. Let's go.
The guy that's still there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
That's fair enough. That's right. I think that's the right answer.
I wish Trey Lyles was on that team.
USA, baby.
Yeah, I know. I would have liked to see Trey Lyles on that team. I think Trey Lyles would have helped that team.
The scary thing for USA in that game is Canada is going to have the best player on the floor with Shea.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
you got Lou Dort they can throw at you. They got Dylan Brooks they can throw at you on the perimeter. That's not gonna be an easy game.
No, and if you go in there and you're playing soft, Kelly Olynyk is gonna light you up.
True.
He's gonna take you outside and he's gonna bomb a bunch of threes, and then he's gonna muscle you in the post.
Yeah.
So
Jaren Jackson Jr. probably not gonna play a lot.
Oh, a little Bobby Portis again.
Bobby Portis, give me Paolo, man.
These are your options.
Yeah, dude. It is their selection of bigs is tough. I'm so interested to see what the Olympic team looks like in a couple of years.
I am too. I think it's going to look totally different. All right. So this was a fun first week. Thank you, everybody. The Chatty House has been off the hook all week.
Before we run out of here, Raiders Broncos prediction.
Raiders.
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm going Raiders.
You got the Raiders in the road upset. I got the Broncos winning a tight one, and I got the Steelers beating the Niners. 20-17.
Yeah, no,
No,
Steelers aren't.
23-21.
Yeah, Niners win.
You got the Niners right. Okay, very good.
Niners.
That's okay. I just want to get those in.
So thank you everybody for tuning into the first week of the Insiders. We've had a blast. We're working out the kinks. We're figuring out everything on the fly, and we're definitely gonna continue to build chemistry and get better here. So thank you for tuning in to the Insiders on ESPN 1320, 98.5 HD2, and the free Odyssey app. It's been a great first week. We'll see you next week.
See you.